Hello, welcome to the City Show. This week we're out on Justice Drive with Sheriff Larry Sims. We're going to be talking about the new construction of the new jail. We're also going to be meeting with the Sculptor, whose exhibition has been extended so you can get a chance to see it. We're going to be meeting over at the Warren County Historical Society. We're also going to be chatting with a chamber member who's taking on the 4th of July celebration. We'll be talking about how you can be involved in that, and the fact that we're having that this year is just so exciting. Now, Sheriff, you've been serving our county for a long time. How many years have you been our sheriff?
This is the 12th year.
Okay. Little different here than some of these big cities. Can you just touch on that and why we're so different? And there's a lot of stuff going on in the country, and for some reason we don't have to deal with it being in a small town, and I love that. I feel safe.
Well, it is, and it's not necessarily means a bad thing. We just don't have the volume of some of the things that occur. We certainly have our own set of issues that we deal with on a regular basis, and again, it goes back to that volume. I think it's a safe community. Certainly the population has changed significantly over the years here in Warren County, but we're just blessed to be here, and I'm certainly humbled and blessed to be serving as your sheriff.
Well said. Now, obviously, the county's grown in the time you've been here. Has your department grown and the needs to have more deputies as well?
Well, since I've been sheriff, we really haven't grown in terms of deputy sheriffs. We've certainly grown in terms of corrections staff a few years ago, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about the jail. Our deputy sheriff staff has stayed fairly consistent for the last 12 years. I've been here 20 years altogether with the Warren County Sheriff's Office, and that growth that has taken place in that time frame has caused an increase of just about 33 people altogether, some of which are deputy sheriffs and corrections officers. But in the last 12, not so much on our deputy sheriff's side.
Okay. Now in law enforcement, we have our police department. There's a highway patrol, and there's the sheriff's department. What are your duties and responsibilities, and how do they differ?
Well, we certainly operate the jail in the county. That's one of the things that are a distinct difference between our law enforcement partners. You mentioned Lebanon Police Department. There's a number of outstanding law enforcement agencies in our county, including the State Patrol, and we work well together. That relationship is necessary because those men and women on the street need assistance from time to time. Those jurisdictional lines, while they may be important for where your ultimate responsibility is, they mean nothing if something bad happens. And so in our responsibility, we are largely in the unincorporated areas in the county. So if it's incorporated and managed by a police department, that's not our primary responsibility. We do have 2 contracts. Deerfield Township, which is a township that has been a great partner and elected us to provide their police services, and as well as South Lebanon and Union Township, and we have a contract with them where we provide services.
So has crime increased over the years with the growth in population?
We've seen some growth in the crime rate. Our largest single crime that we deal with on a regular basis are property-related crimes. You know, technology has certainly opened up the world of identity thefts, things like that. And then we have a combination of a lot of other things that we deal with. Certainly the drug issue that we face, and we've been facing for a number of years. The more severe crimes, and I hate to say this because you cringe every time you talk about murders, and we've had our share of those, unfortunately, over the years, but they pale in numbers compared to some of those larger communities that just have a higher volume of population. So we do have a combination of a number of those, but largely we're dealing with non-violent crimes in our communities.
Now, you mentioned the drug issue. Obviously, the opioid crisis has been huge and still is, although with COVID-19, it's taken a back seat in the headlines. Where are we with that whole opioid issue, and is this still an area that is central? I know with Dayton, with the 2 corridors, 75 and 70, coming together, and are we affected by that in our county?
Oh, sure. And it is still there. You're exactly right. we still see the opioid addiction issues, the trafficking and those types of things that impact our communities, and now in less of the headlines because of what's happening in our world today. We still see it in our jail. We still see it with our relationship with the treatment providers. There's been a shift, and I'm not the drug expert. We have a drug task force, as you may know, but there's been also a shift of some of the users of heroin to meth, which is less immediate risk of death. So that's kind of slowed it down a bit, but the addiction issues are still there. We still see it in our particular enforcement area, and in our county, that's another thing. It's a little bit different than some of the other areas around us. We don't really possess a major dealer in our county because they're primarily traveling back and forth to those larger communities and make their purchases, and they bring it back, and they tend to sell smaller amounts of it. Still just equally important. We just don't see the large volumes on a regular basis like some of our partners around us do.
So has that contributed to the need for the new jail as far as overcrowding with the number of people you arrest on the opioid issues?
Sure, it's that. It's a number of things, and with that, if I could just take a moment to kind of explain a little bit of the history. I'll go back to 2008, and we were full then. We had a much smaller jail capacity of 197, which is our current facility. And at that time, the county made some very wise decisions. Instead of investing in a jail, and nobody wants to pay for jail. It's expensive. You hate to think that you need it. So what they did is they invested time and money in alternative sentencing. They hired additional probation officers, pretrial people to put more and more people that they could out on electronic monitoring, hopefully that they could become productive without taking up the jail bed, which is much more expensive. And that seemed to help a lot. Back in those days, it was about 400 people on those types of systems. We're now well up over 1,000, even with the way the system has gone. And the courts have been outstanding partners as this population has grown. Because up until 2011, we were renting bed space in Butler County and some of the other counties because of our overpopulation. And we were spending, as taxpayers in our county, about $1.2 million a year each year renting bed space. And then in 2011, we were able to work with the state of Ohio, who oversees our jail operation, as they do. Those are the guidelines that we have to follow by law. And they approved us adding double bunks in many areas of our current facility. That allowed us to bring back the inmates from the other counties and stay within our current facility. So since 2011, we have saved taxpayer dollars, about $1 million plus each year, and kept it right here. So that's been a benefit. It also prolonged the life of our current facility before the decision had to be made to do with what we're standing in front of this morning.
Well, speaking of which, we're in front. Behind you is the construction site. Where are we at with that project now?
Well, the project is moving along, as you can see. It's a rather large facility, so they estimate about 22 to 24 months before we could occupy it. And the projected time originally was September 1st. For us to be able to start to move in there. There was a slight slowdown, I think, because of our COVID situation that has impacted us, not only in our state but across the country in many ways. And with the men and women that are coming here working on the site, it impacts them individually, but it also impacts them and their family. So you naturally would see some people not being able to come in because they're dealing with something related to themselves or their family. And so there was a slight slowdown, even though there were employees still here working. I think there was a slight slowdown in that project that's probably going to push it a few weeks beyond the original date, but nothing significant. They're outstanding people over there. It's been fun interacting with some of them, and but it's moving along. It's still a ways off. We're probably still talking in October, but it just takes time. It's a huge project, very expensive project, but it'll get there.
What's the new capacity going to be? You mentioned the old capacity was 180?
The current new capacity is 280 after we added the second bunks. 66 beds for female inmates, the rest were male. This new facility will be 496.
Oh my.
And there's a unit in one of the housing units here that we refer to as the swing unit, which can be occupied by male or female, depending upon the need as the population and need drives us. So you could have anywhere as a minimum of 118 of those 496 would be female beds, to a maximum of 154 female beds. And in our current jail, for whatever reason, with this opioid addiction issues that we all face, it significantly impacted our female population. We couldn't get enough female beds there, and without the wisdom of our courts throughout our county, they have become efficient in allowing us to be able to operate, and then allowing us to be able to work with them to release people that low-level people in order to make room for somebody that's in there more serious. So that's the way we've been operating for the last several years.
Okay. How many people do you process into the jail on a daily basis?
I don't have the daily number, but I do know that yearly we're probably processing around 5,000 plus people in a year's time.
And they're not staying there too long because they're waiting for court dates and where they're going to go next, I imagine? Yeah,
the average stay in there is about 14 to 15 days is the average length of stay. But we have many of our people in our facility that are waiting trials. A lot of the higher level felony offenses that are waiting for trials, and there's a multitude of reasons why it takes so long. We had a murder suspect in there for almost 3 years before his trial, sent him off to prison, and but we've had a few of them that could be in there for months, up to a year if you're a misdemeanor. But I think the county, and rightfully so, has done a really good job in trying to get people out into opportunities through their monitoring system and take less strain off of the system and off of the jail itself.
And how is this whole thing going to make your job smoother and easier?
Well, countywide, what it'll do, because for the longest time, our law enforcement officers throughout our county that are trying to do their job have to call ahead to see if there's any room in the jail. If they felt the need based upon the situation they were facing that this person should go to jail, they have to call ahead to see if there's room for them. And then there's a decision to be made about whether this serious offense trumps somebody else that's over there already, and whether they can bump them. So that's not good for our county. The other thing that this will do is, one, it'll eliminate that. The other thing that it'll do is it'll help ease the strain on our corrections officers, and I'll try to explain this. In our current jail, there's a housing unit that has up to 90 male inmates. There are some that have up to 80 plus inmates. And even in the best of times, if any one of those housing units have some bad apple in there, they can take control of that housing unit. So it takes some time to get that back under control. What this new jail will do, and the design will do, is there's no housing unit over here that has any more than 36 inmates at any given time. And they're spread out into smaller pods, if you will, broken up into smaller numbers. The largest pod, other than the 36, they go down to 24, 18, but there is one 48 bed dormitory style for female inmates. And we tend to, I can't even remember a time where we've had any real issues with the population behavior-wise with females, so that's not a bad number to deal with. But over here, they will be smaller numbers, a little less stress and strain on our correction staff.
It seems like an obvious choice as far as location, because it's close, but I noticed the proximity of the school. Is that a concern with some of the people in town going, hey, there's a school there, we don't feel comfortable about a jail here? Can you address some of those concerns folks might have?
Absolutely. Initially, there were all kinds of discussions about where this facility would go, not here necessarily. Ideally, it would go here because we're dealing with courts here. The convenience of a lot of the things that we deal with our inmate population is right here in our campus. So Well, that was our architectural company that had designed this possibility, and then we talk about the school. And there were some initial questions and some concerns, and so we met with the Lebanon school superintendent, had discussions with them right up front before the final decision was made. I know that he had communicated some with the Lebanon parents. I don't know how all that went, but I know that he had communicated with them. And at the end of the day, this jail and this school has lived in this campus for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And whether it's across the street or back there in that corner, when men and women get released from that jail, they walk past the school. They've been walking past the school every day. So it's either from this street or what was Justice Drive. It's a matter of an extension of so many feet. They could have still gone over there to create any havoc to the school. That's not what their interest is. They want to get out of Dodge.
And I imagine over the years there's probably been no incidents, or?
No, there's never been an incident impacting the school. There's been a couple times over the years where somebody got out of court, took off running, and of course we put everybody in lockdown like you would see across our country if something is at risk. But no incidents impacting the school.
Nice.
And we don't anticipate that. That's not what has happened here historically, and we want to assure the families that come here, the educators that come here, that that we'll take the appropriate steps to make sure that doesn't give them any fear. So
I love how you addressed it as a campus.
Yeah.
Because I mean it's beautiful, and you guys obviously put some thought into that. And coming out of this COVID-19 thing, has it affected the construction at all?
Like I said, there was a little bit of a slowdown initially. We had some, and it was an essential business that was allowed to continue to work. But we don't know how it's impacting the individuals. You know, when you talk about the Masons, who are just outstanding people here, I've actually had some conversations with them over there, and it has impacted, this COVID thing has impacted some of them individually and in their families.
Yeah.
And so with the risk that's involved in this, and now that it's fast forward, and I think we truly know what those risks are. We don't know if they have their elderly family with them. We don't know if they're at those at-risk categories. So it would be natural for me to think that even though you're allowed to go to work, doesn't mean you can or doesn't mean you should, especially if you are feeling any, if you're ill, you shouldn't be coming around your coworkers.
Sure.
So I describe it as a slowdown, very brief slowdown, and they're back laying block like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing. I imagine that affects costs. Has Columbus helped as far as relief financially for some of those costs related to the COVID challenges?
Well, in this jail specifically, the county is the contract holder for the jail, and when the final price, overall price, was decided, that was in written form, and they have a deadline. I'm just a cop, so this is really something I've learned, but you have a deadline, and if you don't meet that deadline, then the county can hold you accountable for additional costs, so on and so forth. But they've discussed all that, and those costs, I think there was a slight increase in a cost, but it's not increase of the overall cost of the jail. It doesn't cost the taxpayers anymore, because at the end of the day, there's contingency monies built into that price, and if the contingency is not used, then it lowers the overall price of the project. But if they do use some of it, which I understand that happens, then whatever comes out of that, the rest of it just goes back. Hopefully, you won't have to use it very often, but being a non-construction person, I understand it's very natural for those things to occur. So,
how has, with being exposed in confined quarters to the people who are inmates, how's your team done as far as the virus? Anybody get the virus that's in your team?
Nobody has got the virus in
Fantastic.
our team. We like everybody else, that we came together. We had some guidance from the state, the Ohio Department of Corrections, again, which oversees our facilities. We put in protocols that allow us to screen people coming in our facility. temperature taking, questions being asked. What also happened is, by sheer nature of this virus, the courts, again, just outstanding partners, on their own reached out and said, we're going to release X number of inmates out of the jail that that lessen the risk of your population spreading. It almost halved our population. So we went from almost 300 inmates to about 130, 140. What that allowed us to do is, if for some reason we had to isolate somebody, we had an empty part of the jail to do that. And there were a number of times since the beginning that we had somebody that maybe traveled, or there was a risk that they might have something. We isolated them. Our medical staff dealt with it. They were quarantined for X number of days for the inmate side, and on our employees side, whether it's in the jail or on the road, we've had a couple people that have reported symptoms. They communicate with their doctor. Some were tested, some just quarantined. No positive test. Everybody's back to work, and we're blessed that way.
Awesome.
Because I know a lot of the jails throughout the state have not had that success. And it's like we see now. It's that close-in population of people makes it a little easier to spread. So we certainly are glad that we're hoping we're on the back side of this far enough that it shouldn't be. But we're still running the protocol. We're still checking those inmates that are coming in, and if there's any symptoms, we've still got room to isolate them.
So is this going to be it? Is this building going to last us for a while? Do you see us outgrowing this? 10 years, 20 years?
I would like to think that
this is where you could say, I'm just a cop. I'd be using that all day long. I'm just a cop. But
when I don't know the answer, that's what I got nothing. Google has made me very smart. I Google things all the time. I would like to think that we're going to get quite a few number of years. It's hard to put a number on there. I mean, we've tried to use some numbers as we've watched population grow. You use the county population also to some degree to estimate what you will have in the next 10 years. So we'd like to think that that is going to put us in a good spot. What the county has done, again, I can't say enough good about this leadership in, is this jail and this campus right here has allowed them to, years down the road, instead of, oh my gosh, we got to look for another site, this jail will allow them to add, where it sits, 4 additional housing units, 1 at a time, 2 at a time, however they saw the need for, of 150 beds per housing unit. So over the course of time, you could have another 600 beds added to this facility, giving you, what, 1,000, 1,100 beds in a facility that does not have to move. And internally, what they're doing now with the kitchen, laundry, they're building those services to be able to handle that volume if and when that need arises.
Okay. So when's the ribbon cutting ceremony?
Well,
we're
waiting on a date. I know that they had a kickoff meeting when the jail construction started. It'll have to be, I'm sure, sometime next summer for them to actually pin down a real date. But I'm sure you'll hear about it. It'll be made public, and for our staff, I'm excited. I'm excited for them. I think it's just going to be it's a great opportunity for them to be in a place that just provides a better work environment, and even for our men and women that unfortunately find themselves in jail. Because we're responsible for their care and custody. We want a clean facility. We want a safe facility. It isn't just about us. It's about us doing our job appropriately and taking care of the people that happen to be in our facility. Well,
fantastic. Anything else before we wrap up?
I think we're pretty solid. I think that's all I got.
Well done. Yeah, I appreciate what you do. I mean, you guys are out there putting your lives on the line because you never know. Thank you. And I'll personally, and I know of many other people, pray for you guys and your safety, and we are blessed, and I'm grateful for you and your team.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. We'll be back. We're going to go to the Historical Society right after this break.
Break your fast food habit at Kelly's Meats and Deli at 1001 West Main Street in Lebanon. Stop in for a quick lunch featuring made-to-order sandwiches, tasty sides, and mouth-watering daily specials. For dinner, Kelly's offers fresh-cut steaks, chops, and seafood, plus a variety of prepared dishes that only need to be reheated. You'll also find a large selection of high-quality wine and beer that can make any meal a special event. Kelly's Meats and Deli open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, now open for dinner Saturdays 6 to 9 p.m. And remember, we cater too.
Since 1954, Hardee's Interiors has been providing quality furnishings for homes in and around Lebanon, Ohio. Today, you'll still find quality antique and vintage furniture along with new made-in-America furniture of all styles. At Hardee's, you can create a mix of furniture and accessories that truly reflects your personality, all made to last a lifetime. Designers are welcome and so are you. Hardee's Interiors at 208.5 Wright Avenue or online at hardeesinteriors.com.
Welcome back to the City Show. We are in the Moat Gallery, which is the exhibition space here at Warren County Historical Society's Harmon Museum. And we are here with Neale Murray, who's just a very talented sculptor. And he had a display right before the COVID virus. They had 150 people come for the grand opening, and then the virus hit. But the good news is they're going to reopen and allow you to come back in and see this wonderful display. And yes, the museum's open. We're getting past this. Welcome to the City Show, Neale.
Thank you.
Now you've been involved in art how long? Your whole life, or?
Pretty much my whole life. I did my university work. Both of my degrees were at Wayne State University in Detroit, and before that, I was involved with art in high school, and even as a kid, I just made things. That's who I was.
Yeah. Well, I think most of us make things, Neale.
Yeah.
I mean, you must have stood out a little bit. You know, I was thinking about my experience with sculpturing. They had milk cartons, and they put some kind of stuff in it that kind of solidified. And I was going to make it.
Then you carved something.
I was going to turn it into Elvis Presley. At the end, it looked more like Frankenstein. So obviously, you must have had a natural skill for that.
I don't know. My father was a dental technician.
Okay.
And actually, I worked with him a little bit in my teen years in the summertime. And so, you know, the nature of that profession is you have to have some manual skill. You have to be able to make visual judgments. So perhaps I inherited some aptitude from my dad.
Okay.
Just the love of materials, having my hands on things. I found that the last 25 years of my career in university, I was actually an administrator.
Okay.
And I found that shaping sensibility worked just as well with people as it did with the materials I was working with.
Wow, that's wonderful. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Wayne State University, both undergraduate and graduate degrees there.
Where is that?
Downtown Detroit.
Oh my
Major urban university. It was one of the I think it was the 13th largest school in the country when I went there. Just first generation college kind of place. It's definitely not an elite institution.
Was there some pushback? Did Dad want you to become a dentist? Or was he all behind it?
My father didn't. My father, he was a remarkable man.
Wow.
And whatever kind of freedom approach I have towards life, I think I partly inherited from my father. He was just, wants you to be happy and wants you to do what you want to do. He didn't impose, he gave no objections at all when I said I thought I was going to be an artist.
So when did you discover that sculptor was your calling? Were you missshaping some of the teeth to where they were really, because everything here is round and I want to touch it. I mean, it's like,
I'm happy to hear you do.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
part
it
of the
just has that draw of wow, that's amazing. But why sculpting? When did you discover that? At what age?
Well, in high school,
Okay.
we didn't have any sculpture. My teacher was a very kind, wonderful teacher, but she didn't have any background at all three-dimensionally.
Okay.
And sometime during, I guess it was about my junior year in high school, I said I wanted to start making things out of wood.
Yeah.
So she said, well, go over to the wood shop, get some material, and that's how I got started.
Yeah. So you start with like a block of wood? Or you put pieces together?
It very much depends.
Yeah.
The material I work with, I generally try to, much of the logs you see, or what came from a log, was trees I've cut down.
Okay.
And then cured so they didn't crack. And I actually prefer material that forces certain limitations on me. Knots, in the case of these two pieces in front of us right now, they were just timbers, so I had to conceptualize the sculpture in a relatively thin, silhouetted type format. I actually like limitations. They give me inspiration.
So do you, in the process of the sculpting, do you start by drawing something out, or does it develop as you start?
It's a little of both. Sometimes I draw, but just as frequently I simply start carving, especially if I've got a piece of material that's questionable in its character, if there are knots inside of it, whatever. You can't predict ahead of time what this is going to be.
Wow.
And I like that process. I frankly don't consider myself all that imaginative. And the material sort of talks to me and tells me a little bit about what it wants to be. So it's a kind of collaborative process. That's why much of the work you see here is in wood, because it's a material that has its own life and its own character. And I'm trying to respond to that and let my character and personality interact with that character. So it's a kind of sympathetic relationship.
Okay. So you mentioned tools. What kind of tools do you use?
The most common tool you use to carve wood is a gouge. It looks rather like a chisel. Many people mistake them for chisels, but it has a curved blade.
Okay.
And the curvature of the blade allows it to enter into the material and come out again. And it's a slow, rather tedious process.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your dad. Obviously, he had a good impact on you.
Yeah.
Are there any artists out there that impacted you and maybe caused you to go maybe in their direction? Or?
Oh, yeah. Probably in my early development in the university, I saw the work of sculptors like Brancusi, who was a Romanian sculptor who sculpted in Paris, Henry Moore, an English sculptor. Those two had a fairly significant impact on my development. But painters also have interested me.
Oh my.
Georges Rouault, who is a very meditative Christian painter, who was a remarkable figure in my development, because I'm a person of faith and I was looking for models of the kind of people who found a way to incarnate their faith in their work. Georges Rouault was an important influence. The artist Paul Klee, Swiss artist, he represented a kind of more childlike interpretation of surrealistic motifs.
Okay.
And he got very deep levels into the subconscious. And I felt that if my work was going to be authentic, it had to move down to those levels.
Okay.
And And he was very spontaneous the way he worked. He let the idea form as he created. And although I was working with very different materials, I felt that was helpful in getting where I felt I needed to go as an artist.
Okay. So you get, back when you were really sculpting and active, do you get visions, or, and when you start this, how long does it start or take to finish a project?
Oh my.
I mean, I would be the kind, I would start and I would have something in the garage and I'd start something else. I mean, I would assume you're just locked in.
That's right. You have to be, particularly as a wood sculptor. Yeah. By the way, I also carve stone, and you see a couple of welded pieces around the corner. And I have a plexiglass piece here that was carved as well.
How do you carve the plexiglass? The same way?
Oh my, plexiglass was a fascinating experience. Yeah. It's extremely expensive material, by the way. I was given that block of material, and it was worth well over $1,000 when it was given to me. And I had to experiment in carving it. Finally, I carved it with wood tools, but it creates spalls. Spalls are the pieces that break away from a piece of stone. And those were razor sharp.
Okay.
So I had all kinds of little small cuts on my hands and my face. And I remember not even being aware of this, but a month or two after I finished that piece, noticing in the ceiling of the place where I was working little bits of plexiglass that had been so sharp they embedded themselves in the ceiling.
Wow.
So
and probably some of your blood, so it might have looked like a crime scene. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But the individual material becomes, for me, the starting point.
Yeah.
I'm a very physical person, and even though I'm fairly philosophical and cognitive as well, I get inspiration through my hands.
Wow. I love the fact that it sounds like you try to make this a way of glorifying God. In some of your sculptures, I saw the name Jonah. Obviously,
that's right. I have a couple interpretations of the Jonah story around the corner.
What do you hope people see in your work?
Well, frankly, that's problematic because I don't want to control people.
Yeah.
I want to represent my perspective, but I want people to bring their own perspective, their own history to the work. That's why, even though I'm a person of faith, you don't see more explicit kind of Christian themes in the work. I've, in fact, remodeled churches and created chapels and things like that in my career. But I want the person to bring their own history to the work. The title is an entry to the work. Titles are very important to me. I remember as a student in high school, I took what today would probably be considered a fairly primitive aptitude test. And I realized my two highest aptitudes were spatial and literary. And interestingly enough, the literary aptitude was a little higher than the spatial one. My oldest daughter was a poet. She's now deceased, but her final book won the California Gold Medal for poetry.
Yeah. You obviously had a huge impact on both of them since they're both in.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
At least genetically.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of your work? How about the two lovely ones right in front of us?
Well, these two pieces, again, of course, they're created out of timbers. The timbers were only about 3.5 inches thick. And in fact, the wood itself has a curious history. It came from Henry Ford's rubber plantation. Okay. And I happened to fall upon a lumber yard in Detroit that bought a ton of this stuff in auction.
Yeah.
And so I bought those timbers at that particular lumber yard, and I was frankly responding to what was happening socially in America. I'm very supportive of women's rights, and the female piece is called Aurora, and you'll notice she's kind of rising up and is kind of plant-like and growing in shape.
Yeah, I see that.
The male figure is actually a take on a Christian theme that's called deposition. That means taking Christ's body down from the cross. So
Okay.
it's a kind of limp body,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you see its movement is downward rather than upward.
Wow.
And I was trying to reflect what was going on in the social environment at the
Yeah.
time.
So are these some of your recent works?
Well, actually, I'm 80 years old,
Yeah.
and some of these works in the show are relatively recent, and some of them are quite old. I honestly, I think those pieces are maybe 25, 30 years old.
Were you influenced by what was happening in the world as you would sculpt?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just like any citizen, I care about what's going on. There's a piece in the back of the exhibit called Eagle Fall
Okay.
that was actually based on a news item. Years ago, there was someone in Texas, some semi-deranged hunter who was flying around in a helicopter shooting down eagles.
Oh my goodness.
And I was profoundly offended by
Yeah.
that. And I happened to have a piece of material, the piece of walnut that piece is a part of, actually had, like many walnut trees, grown up with fences around it and so on. So some of the wire from the fences actually embedded themselves in the tree and stained the wood. And if you look closely at that piece, you'll see a black stain running down the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I felt there was something kind of appropriate about that damaged quality in the wood and that theme.
Is there a type of wood that you enjoy working with the most, and why?
I've worked with perhaps almost every wood available. There are hundreds of types of wood. I generally prefer to work with domestic wood because I don't want to be a part of rainforests being cut down. A lot of the mahoganies come out of the rainforests, and I don't really want to be a part of that. So that's one of the reasons I cut my own trees and cure my own wood. But when exotic wood comes to me from one source or another, like these two pieces we just spoke about.
What type of wood is this?
That's actually a form of mahogany.
Okay.
There are about 40 or 50 different types of mahogany.
Okay.
And that had already been cut, so there you go. But actually, I'm currently working, people ask, you know, what's your favorite? Any artist will tell you their favorite thing is what they're doing now.
Okay.
And I'm currently working on a piece of ash wood. And ash is quite a dense wood, the wood they make baseball bats out of. And it's a relatively light-colored wood.
Now, is this the ash that's fallen from over the years?
I actually bought this from a dealer over in the Xenia area.
All right.
And anyway.
I thought you retired. You're not slowing down.
No, I'm still working.
Okay.
I typically create about 5 pieces a year.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, this particular piece is going to be stained with a lot of different colors.
Nice. Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to call the piece Summer. And I'm going to pick the kind of colors that we associate with summer. Color does matter to me, just like the character of the material matters. I'm more of a colorist than many sculptors are. A lot of sculptors, painters are gifted colorists. Sculptors generally are not. Architects are usually terrible colorists. I seem to have some coloristic gift as well, and so I'm looking to use that in this particular piece.
So you transforming as you get older? Does your work now look radically different than your younger work, or is there hints of, are people going to say, well, that's Neale's work? You know, do they see certain things that are characteristic of what you do?
I don't know if I'm the right person to make a judgment about that.
And if I did something this beautiful, I'd put my name on every. You don't even sign your stuff, do you?
No, I don't sign it. No.
Is that rare? Because I would.
No, I think just given the nature of carving, anyone could carve the same initials in it that you could. So there's nothing particularly personalized about a signature on a sculpture.
So now, we have this lovely exhibit. How long is the exhibit lasting?
I think Michael said he's carrying it through mid-July. I think about the 15th of July.
Wow. And we got about 150 through on the first one?
Apparently so. I certainly didn't sense anywhere near that many, but apparently if that's the count, that's the count.
Now I noticed that there's prices on some of them, so are some of the works available to purchase?
Oh, yeah.
My goodness, that's great.
Yeah, I'm looking to clear out my studio.
And the prices aren't, I mean, they're reasonable. I mean, to be able to have...
Well, I'd like to think they are. Given the amount of time that goes into a sculpture, they're actually quite reasonable. Yeah. But I'm just simply looking to not have my work as a burden for my family when I pass away.
That's smart. I'll tell you what, if you're looking for an awesome gift for a loved one, come to the museum. I mean, drop a sculpture on your spouse. I mean, not drop it on them, that would be bad, but give them that as a present. That would be so unique and wonderful. Plus, you get to meet Neale. Is there anything else that we've missed that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, I guess what I'd like to say, even though the work comes from a fairly deep level of my spiritual life as a believer, I don't think art should preach.
Yeah.
And I think it should represent a kind of joy in creation. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve in these works. Well, there are some sadder works in the show, and that's part of all of our experience as well. But all I can say is I hope it's an authentic reflection of who I am, but I want people to bring their own sensibility and their own experience to the work.
It draws you in. You don't have signs that says "Don't touch."
No, actually, I would encourage people to touch it.
I want to touch the contour.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
And I don't think I have a wood fetish or any weird stuff, but you're drawn into it.
Well, thank you.
And I think you've done a great job of just capturing all that stuff. And thanks for being with us today.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You come on down, see Neale's work, guys. We'll be back. We're going to be talking with Councilman Adam Mathews right after this break.
Bob Pulte Chevrolet always gives you the best. Best price guaranteed. Best trade-in value. Best selection. Best financing on all new and pre-owned vehicles. See for yourself at bobpulte.com. And you'll love the Pulte price.
Plantar fasciitis is terrible. You're reminded of your pain with every step that you take. Our approach is unique in that we use clinical massage to break up those adhesions. We'll even fit you for orthotics. If there's a joint misaligned, we may need to set that. There's no way for us to know until you come in for your free assessment. If it's only clinical massage that you need, it's very affordable, $28 for one session. You deserve to have relief. Call us at 933-9799 and schedule your free assessment.
Credit challenge? No problem. Here at Bob Pulte Chevrolet, get approved on a new Chevrolet with financing as low as 9.9% plus $2,000 in rebates. Don't waste time shopping elsewhere. Apply online today at bobpulte.com and you'll love the Pulte price.
Hey, welcome back. I'm outside this beautiful park by the museum. I've never been here before. As far as sitting here, I drive by it. This is spectacular. I'm with Adam Mathews. He's a patent attorney. If you got an idea, give him a call. But he's also a chamber member. And man, I love you guys. You give so much of your time to help our city do what it's supposed to do. So thank you for that. And we're there's a rumor circle around it that you're the ambassador of fun because you volunteered for the parade, which we are going to have the parade July 3rd. They should call you the ambassador of work because that's a lot of work. And once again, thank you for that. What's the theme for the parade this year?
The theme for the parade is targeted very closely on the Declaration of Independence. As you know, July 4th, we celebrate the Declaration of Independence. Traditionally here in Lebanon, we do it on the 3rd.
Yeah.
And we are hewing as closely as we can to that Declaration of Independence as really the foundational political document that we've had for these great United States, looking at the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all of those elements that we need to remember, especially at this time.
Absolutely. Of course, we're coming out of this pandemic.
Right.
Was there a lot of discussion as far as we shouldn't have the parade? Let's have the parade. How did that come about?
Right. So there's been, as you mentioned, a lot of anxiety, a lot of concerns, and we are doing this as safely as we can. We've worked a lot with the health department, had those questions on how to do this safely and well while still creating that sense of normality that we've had in the past. The discussions really came with our community partners that have put on the parade in the past. Main Street Lebanon is stepping up again this year to be one of our co-sponsors, which is great. The director, Linda Nienaber, has taken a huge step and helped with us putting all of this together. The other members of council have been very appreciative. City staff has worked with us, police and fire. Everyone here has been very supportive of making this happen while still keeping it a way to show Lebanon in a great, healthy, and fun light.
Yeah. Now I know in the past we've had the car show displays. We've had some floats. Who's going to participate this year?
Right. So we've already had. We only put out advertising yesterday. Today's June 11th. Last night we put out the first advertising for people to sign up, and we already have half a dozen people to be in, including floats, including specialized classic cars and flag cars and others. We expect fire trucks and police to be in the parade. And this year specifically, we really want families to be a part of this.
Okay.
There are many things that have gone on where it's been difficult to get out, difficult to enjoy our community. And we are welcoming as many families that want to be a part of this to come out with their little tricycles or bikes and wagons, red, white, and blue banners and such. We'd love to have that and stay with that for anyone's available.
I don't think they've done that before. As far as family participation, that's a great idea.
Right.
Was that your brainstorm? Patent guy?
We've had a great committee here. It may have been my idea, it may have been others, but we've been working really well with a great team, with the Chamber, with Main Street, others around that are great community leaders, and happy to get all of this done and have it something that the community can really be proud of.
Now obviously you said it's July 3rd, that's Friday.
Yes.
What time?
It is at 4 o'clock. If you're going to be involved, the staging is at 3:15. It's the same as normal up at Oakwood and Broadway out by Barry.
Okay.
And it goes the same parade route that we normally do, where it goes south on Broadway and turns at the library and goes up Sycamore.
Yeah.
And so it's a nice route. To the untrained observer, what we want is that you come. If you've always had a place that you watch this parade, it's the same as it always is.
Nice.
So
now we're not going to have the stage.
Yeah.
So I think that'll allow people not to be clustered.
Right.
So good planning on that. And are you going to maintain that social distancing idea, and are you just going to expect people to do that themselves, or?
Right. So in the parade, we will be. You naturally have distance between each of the units there. So that 6 feet, that's what happens naturally anyway, between any of those. We are asking all of the units, so if Pete the Plumber comes or the Warren County Republican Party comes, those that come, they stay within their own units. So you know who you're with. And you don't kind of have that mixing. And everyone knows all of the recommendations that are out there. So if you're an observer, stay safe as you need to, but we know that we're all adults and have that responsibility to assess that risk.
Are you looking for extra floats or bands?
We are. I'm not sure when this will be filming, but we would love to have as many people in the parade as possible. It is a community event. We also would love to people come observe. There's going to be a few differences so that we can have this parade. We are hewing as close as we can to the First Amendment. This is protected political speech. And as that, we're going to have the Declaration of Independence is our political statement. There's really not going to be any other political statements. We want red, white, and blue. Happy birthday, United States. Happy birthday, America. God bless America. And to do that, we're going to really push that message and only that message. So anyone that wants to be a part of that, great.
So if they want to be involved, do they just call you on your private cell number? Or
they can.
Is there another? I was joking. Is there another number? You
don't
want to do that.
That's fine. It's fine. I have unlimited voicemail, and I get back to people. On the flyers, my cell phone number is on there. I'm sure if you wanted, I don't know if there's show notes, but you can put my phone number there, or you can reach out via email to Main Street Lebanon, who's co-hosting this. The director will take those. If you want to sign up and there's still time, the address for that is www.tinyurl.com/Lebanon Parade. And you just go there and sign up. All of the rules and requirements and guidelines for that are there, and it should be a really easy way to come celebrate.
What about pet friendly? Because people love to bring their pets to stuff. And are there going to be pets in the parade?
Pets are welcome. I don't think any have signed up as of June 11th, but they're welcome. We don't have insurance. When we applied for insurance, we said no farm animals, so please no farm animals. But otherwise, pets are great.
Wow, there's so much stuff you got to do. So you got what, 3 weeks left?
We do. We're coming up. It's going to be July 3rd, and everything is good. We've had our meeting with the city, and everything's approved and working great. And we're really excited to keep this going so we can continue to have it year after year and build on that.
Well, it's a lot of work. Do you need volunteers?
We do. If you want to volunteer, we are working to have people that'll help with the road closures along to help clean up afterwards. There shouldn't be too much to clean up. There's always been a soft request not to throw or hand things out. This one, it's a bit stronger of a request not to hand out, throw out candy, anything like that. But to make sure things are cleaned up, all the no parking signs go away after the parade. And other than that, that's the main volunteers that we're going to need.
Appreciate what you're doing. That's awesome.
And it is great to have so much positive energy coming back. That this is wanted, this is desired, and this is a way for us to celebrate our real independence. And the Declaration of Independence enshrines and shows that these are rights that are inherent to us. So it's great to celebrate that.
What about fireworks?
The fireworks are still on.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Still in the park?
They are still in the park. The fireworks, the concern about the fireworks is it often brings people together in a way that you can't really control. But the fireworks here in Lebanon, the city's determined that they're visible so far around Lebanon. And while the events at Colonial Park won't be happening, the fireworks still will. And so that will be great and continue those traditions.
Well, that's fantastic. Adam, thanks for joining us. Is there anything else that I missed?
I don't think so. We hope people join. We hope people come watch. And if you want to be involved, please get involved. We are happy to celebrate our independence and do it in a way that respects our rights to speak. So
I said this earlier when we were talking, it's nice seeing young people stepping up because that's a lot of work. I know we said you're the minister of fun, but let's face it, that's a lot of work. Thank you so much. That's our show for today. We'll be back, and get out and enjoy that parade, enjoy this lovely weather, and thanks for watching.